bombed, and you bombed. This is completely unacceptable. Thousands of applicants applied, but you are here today because there are seeds of greatness in you with massive potential. But I want to remind you, this is not your grandfather's apprentice. The winner will receive a $250,000 job offer and the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to work for me as my protege, where you will help grow the $1 billion sports media empire that my team and I have built from scratch. Let's go!
J-O-N to the E-to-E-N. Know that we undefeated, y'all are beneath the speeches, trying to air a grievance.
We have to create a digital media marketing campaign.
Whose idea was that? Brilliant. You know exactly what you're doing in terms of social media.
Like, I'm not your dog. You don't need to pat my head when I do something right.
He's very strong on ideation, but he executes almost nothing.
I wanted her to shine. Can you not interrupt me, please?
Why are you here?
Because I'm fighting for a new life, to fight for my son.
It was really, really bad. I've basically been broke twice in my life.
You know how many times I've fallen, I've failed, 1,000,000 times. But I get back up and I fight. And that's what you guys will do.
It's dreams, passion, vision that change the world. George, sit in the air. Hello, teams. We all have fears, doubts, and insecurities.
Shut up! Shut up!
But the starting line starts where the rest of the world quits. This is the toughest apprentice in history. May the best warrior win.
Hello, and welcome to this exclusive One Ignite webinar. My name is Erica Kerner, Senior Vice President at One Championship, and I'll be your moderator for today's session with an all-star panel of movers and shakers in the Asian business community. We are very excited to have joining us One Championship Chairman and CEO, who is also the host of the hit new reality show, The Apprentice One Championship Edition, Chatri Sijitong, Everrise founder and CEO, Sudhir Agarwal, and Tumi's Adam Hirschman, who serves as the company's Vice President for Asia Pacific and the Middle East. Some of the topics we'll be discussing today include thought leadership, tough leadership choices, mentoring a new generation of business leaders, the power of brand placement, and reaching new audiences during the COVID-19 era. And of course, we will discuss the Apprentice One Championship Edition, the toughest apprentice in history. The Asian premiere just a few weeks ago was Asia's most watched premiere of an English language reality show in 2021. All of our panelists have been a part of making that happen, and I'm excited to talk more about that in a few minutes. But now let's begin. Chatri, when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, it disrupted businesses all across the world. However, One Championship persevered and found a way to continue with its martial arts events, as well as with the company's other initiatives, including esports, the One Shop, and One Studios. How were you able to make One Championship thrive during this difficult time?
Well, I don't want to make it sound easy because it wasn't. But the first couple of days when, at the end of March, exactly a year ago, when the Singapore government decided to close down borders and shut down the entire country, where everyone was relegated to their houses, it caused One Champ to come to a grinding halt. And for the first couple of days, I was definitely a mixture of frustrated, disappointed, sad, whatever you want to call it. I was not in a good state of mind because I didn't know if this lockdown would be for 1 month, 2 months, 12 months, 24 months. And, we're in a live sports business broadcast globally to 154 countries every week. And, just in my mind, I was thinking about our reach, frequency, and engagement numbers. I was thinking about how do we engage our massive community globally if we aren't able to throw any live events. But something happened on the third day. I remember waking up and I was suddenly super inspired. I realized that yes, this is the worst crisis in 100 years. But, my team and I, we always talk about what a superstar team we are and how extraordinary we are, and in our pursuit of this crazy, crazy big dream of, becoming Asia's first truly global sports media property, competing against the likes of NBA and NFL and EPL and even Olympics. And I realized at that moment that a very famous saying that I know is, a ship is not made for the calm waters of the harbor. A ship is made for the rough seas in search of new horizons. And so I held a company meeting with everybody, and I said, everyone, the time for feeling sorry for ourselves is over. What can we do in this lockdown period that can ignite and delight and surprise our fans? And so we came up with all these incredible ideas, but I narrowed it down to two things. I said to the team, the two key success factors are, on one hand, is creativity, because we're going to be faced with problems we've never been faced before. And so we need creativity to come up with new solutions we've never thought about, and let creativity drive all the problem solving. Then on the other hand, I said we need resilience, because we're going to get far more failures, rejections, obstacles than ever before. And so our mindset has to be, buckling down. In the martial arts world, you bite down on your gum piece and you prepare for a big battle. And that was the mindset. And incredibly, 2020 ended up being a record year for us in terms of reach, frequency, engagement numbers, the viewership numbers, the core of our business. The underlying health metrics of the business is all about reach, how many people are watching your content or engaging your content, frequency, how often is it, every day, every week, multiple times a day, and engagement, how deeply are they engaged, whether it's average time spent or emotional engagement. And I'm proud to say, despite only operating 9 months of the year in terms of live events, we blew away our TV viewership numbers by 50%, and we blew away our social and digital viewership metrics by 300%, versus a full year, 12 months in 2019. So, through creativity and resilience, my team did an incredible job, and I'm just so blessed to serve the most extraordinary team on the planet.
And I remember that meeting, and I left it so inspired as well. So that was really wonderful. I want to ask about the One Studios. Coming out of this, the Apprentice One Championship Edition is the One Studios' first foray into general entertainment. How did you land on The Apprentice as the right property to use?
Well, when we were scouring the globe in terms of our first project, TV or movie project, in terms of something that would increase RFE, reach, frequency, engagement, something that would pull in families, something that would pull in mainstream into, witnessing our brand in action for the first time, our brand values, our stories, and eventually, of course, getting pulled into our tentpole events of our sports property. We wanted to find a property that was very fascinating, interesting, but at the same time could travel well around the world, that had a big installed fan base already. Installed fan base, I think, is very important in a brand new concept, maybe a hit show, but it doesn't have a lot of depth or breadth of fan base. And so when we came upon Apprentice, we're in our discussion with MGM, we realized that The Apprentice actually came with a lot of its own negative issues due to some brand associations of the past. And though The Apprentice has been around for 17 years, and I think it's in 117, 120 different countries now, it's still most famously known as one of the, for former President Trump. And so it was a very polarizing time when we decided to do it. And in America, The Apprentice was essentially dead as a brand. But we thought that, we had long discussions with MGM that we would do this if we could actually inject our IP into the show and revamp it completely, a whole brand new millennial, sexy, hot concept that would really resonate by us bringing our world champions in the show, by bringing our guest business leaders like Sudhir and Adam, who could lend their expertise and credibility in the show, so we just thought of new angles. So it would appeal to reality fans all over the world. It would appeal to the millions of Apprentice fans that are installed base around the world. It would appeal to real business people who would gain invaluable insights from the likes of Sudhir and Adam. And then obviously our martial arts fan base. We have close to 50 million fans on social media. We knew that they would be attracted by our world champions being on the show, like Angela Lee or Demetrius Johnson or Brandon Vera. And, lo and behold, we launch and our premiere ends up getting over 4 million viewers, which is the highest, most watched reality show, not just for 2021, actually, but in the last decade, I believe, in terms of a premiere, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you, Chatri. Sudhir, Adam, as Chatri mentioned, you both are guest advisors in the show. What made you want to participate and get involved? Sudhir, maybe to you first.
Sure. Listen, firstly, I think the whole story of how One Championship came up with this whole idea itself, is just an amazing example of how companies revive themselves from a creativity point of view. As they say, when the tough gets going, the tougher get even better. We had a similar experience in our business when last year when the pandemic hit, exactly a year back, right? And I think we came out because of our team and all our investments in technology. We grew 30% last year. When I was presented by this great opportunity for me, first I was just amazed that how in the world of pandemic where people are not doing anything new, here's One Championship taking on this big a challenge of hosting The Apprentice. So for me, first, it was just that whole thing that, wow, this is creative. A second, to do that in a period when the whole world is locked down and Singapore's locked down, but to pull out an event like this flawlessly is absolutely amazing. And really what made me partner was I love to mentor people. That's a part of what I do. We are from the people business. We have over 12,000 people globally. And I said, this would just, if I can just give give something back to young millennials in terms of feedback, in terms of my learning, I think would be great. And listen, the biggest reason I would love to partner with one on anything. At the end of the day, both of us have a very similar goal that we want to excel in the experience and the customer experience that we give to our customers.
Adam?
Yeah, I mean, for us, this isn't our first time working with One. I would echo what Sudhir says. Although it's no surprise to me, that folks like yourself, Erica, and Chatri, really remained very creative, very agile in such a difficult environment. And like Sudhir said, pulling this off is really, speaks to the strength of your organization, your creativity, and how you continue to be relevant, no matter what the world throws at you. I think that kind of mentality is something that sits really well with us here at Tumi. That was one of the big reasons why we wanted to be a part of it. Of course, when the team called me and talked to me about this idea, I said, oh, wow, really? It kind of took me off guard a bit, but in a good way. And I said, yeah, absolutely. We want to do this. We want to be a part of, more and more a part of One Championship's mission to unleash real life superheroes. We're all about perfecting the journey at Tumi. So the value synergy is really there for us. Secondly, we're super keen on the idea of mentoring young folks. There's really a terrific pool of candidates that One assembled for this competition, and having the opportunity to work with them, mentor them, and also learn from them, I think is a very special experience for our brand. A lot of times, you'll, as a brand, you'll be talking about your own point of view, but in this forum, I think it really gives us the opportunity to engage with some new folks and bring some new ideas to the table in a way that is a bit more democratic and it is a bit less brand driven, given the reality that it's given the state of it is a reality show. So it's more spontaneous and genuine. So I felt that was a really exciting opportunity for us one of the reasons we wanted to participate.
You know what's interesting, Erica, for me is if you look at the business leaders and the brands that ended up joining the show, they are literally the change makers of their industries. Yeah. Whether it's Eric Yuan from Zoom, the CEO of Zoom, Anthony Tan from Grab, Adam Hirschman from Tumi, or Sudhir Agrawal from Everrise, Ankiti Bose from Zilingo, or Patrick Grove from Catcha Group. Like everyone who's part of, they are all the risk takers, the change makers, the dreamers, and the brands as well. So for me, it was just an exciting, every episode, getting to hang out with, these incredible visionaries from the business world, for me was just a lot of fun. And that's also what made it a magical experience. And I think that's also why it's such a hit show, is that it really resonates across many different audiences.
I think the point which Chhatri made is extremely, extremely valid, right? I think only people who believe in doing something gutsy, which is completely out of the blue, are companies that actually can manage change and change. I did not even know who are the other partners to the show till much later. But if you see the partnership ecosystem that one was able to pull out, I think there is a similarity in the style of the leaders, and
definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I did want to ask one thing, Chhatri. Not only did One Championship work hand in hand with the Singapore government to pilot the return of live events in the country, but also to shoot the Apprentice One Championship edition in a safe and controlled environment. So how did this partnership come about, and how big a role did Singapore play in all of this?
The Singapore government was absolutely instrumental, vital to One Championship's recovery and going from strength to strength in the middle of the pandemic. We were very proud that the Singapore government trusted us as the very first, property of any kind in sports, music, and entertainment across the entire continent of Asia. We were the first global property to come back online in terms of sports. We even came back online before NBA or F1 or EPL, all the big major ones as well. And to proudly carry the Singapore flag on the global stage of the sports business was a very magical moment for us at One Championship. And then, the same thing when we shot production, we were the only global production in all of Asia to come back online in terms of actually shooting a live show. And, my team, our team and I worked tirelessly with the Singapore government. Big props to our group president, Hua Fang Tay, and Jessley Chua, our CFO, for working very closely with the Singapore government, with all the different ministries. It was incredible. Ministry of Health, Singapore Tourism Board, IMDA, STB, EDB, like everybody. It was just incredible, the amount of interdepartmental help we received across the board from all the Singapore government agencies. We even heard that Prime Minister Lee was getting daily or weekly updates on the progress of One Championship and a return. So, we're super grateful that the Singapore government entrusted One Championship. But I think it also speaks very loudly to the fact that, One Championship is truly a global property, with an entire global ecosystem to service. And I think that was also played a very important factor in the Singapore government's decision to work closely with us.
Yeah. To change gears just a little bit, Sudhir, you mentioned a few minutes ago that it's a real passion of yours to mentor young people. And I'm just wondering if you can tell me a little bit more about why that's so important and what you do to mentor talented young business people.
Thanks, Erica. Listen, I think for any person, for any leader, a leader truly becomes a true leader when you give back to people. I want to go back when I was growing up. I mean, I've had mentors all my life. And if I look at any major change that happened in my career over the last 24 years, there's always been a very strong mentor who's played a very critical role on it. Right out of school, I started working in college, and that was because of a mentor of mine who was a very dear friend's dad, and he's the one who said, come start working at an early age. Whether it was joining a GE that happened on a golf course, again through a mentor. I think the first thing about mentoring or mentorship is you got to be selfless, right? You got to do what's good for the other person. I am from the people business. Our biggest assets are our people. I think it's our role as managers and leaders to mentor these people to make them the future managers and leaders. There is no better way of teaching anyone than actual experience sharing. Okay, I love mentoring people of all ages, and I have. As of today, I have mentors of my daughter's friends who come to me for advice, mentor people in the office, many of them mentor people who are our friends, kids. And I just think it's good. And, I think that satisfaction that one gets when someone just says thank you for the advice that you gave them or when you mentored them, I think that is a lot more humbling experience than getting millions of dollars, in the bank. That's okay. That's just a thing. But I think that contentment and fulfillment that you get from someone saying thank you to you, that, your advice changed me. Your advice had an impact on my life, on my career, for me personally is very, very fruitful.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, saying thank you, and it really does change people's lives. A follow-up to that, there were 16 accomplished candidates from all over the world who competed in the Apprentice One Championship edition. What qualities do you look for in an aspiring young business leader?
I think Chatri and his entire team did a fabulous job of selecting those 16 contestants. Firstly, please understand, when you get, I don't remember what the number was. Chatri, how many people applied? I remember you telling us.
Over 5,000 around the world.
When you have 5,000 applicants, and also please understand, you can't meet anyone.
Right.
That's, and by the way, I'm in the business of interviewing a lot of people. Doing it online, on a Zoom or whatever medium it is, you can't find out the person's personality. So for the team to select 16 great people from 5,000, firstly, kudos to that. Okay. Secondly, I think what I found in those people was these are great people and great kids who have experienced failure, which I think is very important. I think it's extremely important to have failed in something in life. I have many times, right? Because that's what gets you the passion to get up and keep going, right? The second, which most important quality that I saw across, and again, I'm saying this because that's what I look into people for as well, is hunger. Because if you do not have the hunger, you will never excel in what you do, because you will never put in your best, right? And really the third that I saw, and I think a bunch of them actually left their jobs and came for this, right? That is also a real big thing. I mean, imagine in the world of pandemic, which still is not over, and God knows when it'll be over, to leave a stable job, okay, which pays your bills, and to quit and say, I'm going to go participate in this reality show and become, Chatri's right-hand person. That's a big thing. And, it's a real big thing. So I think, listen, it's really all of this. You look for people who have hunger in them. You look for people who really believe in themselves, who are fighters, who don't just give up. Again, I love Chatri's example of how he reinvented the company 3 days after, the pandemic broke. Listen, we all have those moments. I think if people think that we don't deal with failure, people have no idea about that. Okay, we actually deal with failure much more than probably a common person or any person does. We just have a mechanism to snap out of it and start being positive, right? And the last and the most important thing I really look at people, or whether it's mentoring or hiring or whatever, is they have to have zeal for whatever they want to do, and they got to have passion like nothing else.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you for that. Adam, let me turn to you because you've been sitting very quietly there for a few minutes.
It's a strange thing. I think everyone's shocked that I'm able to. He's like, how is he doing this?
I thought maybe you were a cutout.
No.
So aside from being involved in The Apprentice, which we'll get to in just a minute,
Sure.
I did want to talk to you about esports a little bit, because Tumi's kind of started to dip your toes into the esports market and has seemed to find a whole new consumer base through your partnership with One Esports, especially during the pandemic. So what made Tumi decide to work with One Esports and get involved in this new industry, especially during such an unpredictable time in the world?
Yeah, well, I think now I think we have more than our toe in. Chachi, would you say we have now I would say maybe chest deep in
yes,
the esports, with you guys and in the industry. Look, for us, I saw it's just another example of something that we were talking. I think it was maybe 3 years ago with some of the folks on Chatri's team and even yourself, Erica, about working with One Championship, and One Esports was something you were also incubating at the time. I don't think it was real. I don't think you had done an event until the end of 2019. I think Japan was the first one, if I remember. It was a Tekken tournament. And we were talking, and I was looking at, the industry, and it really reminded me a lot of the momentum that you saw in the DJ movement and music movement of the late 90s and early 2000s, where this was becoming really popular. And the folks who were involved in this industry were moving all over the world. They were traveling to Vegas for a night to DJ an event, or they were going from their house to a gig the next day. So they were moving a lot, and they needed to carry their life's work, their gear with them everywhere. So these are people who are carrying like 3 laptops, 2 headphones, battery banks, chargers that I didn't even know existed. And we made bags for these folks. And to this day, we have an incredibly strong following in the DJ community. And when I started to see, through the lens of Carlos, the CEO of One Esports, what the athletes, the esports athletes were experiencing, it really reminded me of these kind of people who were carrying their life's work with them, who were always on the move. And they had a lot of gear, and we had a lot of success with the DJs. And I really felt that there was a very logical and authentic reason for us to be working with the esports community. And we worked with One Esports. The first tournament we did was in 2019. We did a Dota 2 tournament. We also did the most recent Dota 2 tournament, which I think Chatri is the number 2 most watched major in Dota 2 history. I just saw it yesterday, and I reposted it. We're super proud of that. But what it really did was it gave us an opportunity, I think, to learn a lot and to validate our assumption in an environment that we knew would be elevated. We'd get exposure to a lot of teams, the industry itself, and be a part of a company and brand that we really trusted. So for us, it was this was the logic behind the decision. It was an easy decision, of course, to work with, Chatri and his team. And we were very pleased with the results. And again, that was our toe dip. And now I think we're chest deep. We work with a lot of teams. And of course, it's a big theme. Don't want to reveal too much, but it's a big theme of our episode in One Championship, in the Apprentice One Championship edition. So that's kind of the reason, Erica.
Yep. And that leads into my question about your involvement in the show. So Tumi also is one of the subjects of the business challenges in the Apprentice One Championship edition, where you got to interact with both Team Valor and Team Conquest in relation to the upcoming launch of your new Esports Pro collection of bags. So I wanted to ask you, without any spoilers, what was the most interesting part of interacting with the contestants?
Yeah, I've gotten several reminders. No spoilers.
No spoilers.
I'm trying to keep it under control. Although I'm super excited about it. Can't wait to see it live. I think the thing that was really the most interesting is I think working with the folks who were selected to be the contestants. I think to me that's what I really remember the most about the experience that I had was just seeing how passionate they all were, how talented they all were. And it was just so motivating and inspiring to me, quite frankly, made me be at my best for them because you just saw it in their eyes and the work that they were putting out there, that this really meant a ton to them. And, that was really, I think, the most interesting thing to see. And, how much they really seemed to rapidly grasp the essence of our brand DNA. And as I was watching them interact with the brand, with the brand, they, I think, found a lot of different angles of looking at our brand and the value proposition of that Alpha Bravo Esports collection that I probably never would have thought of. So for me, it was really inspiring to be around them. It was really inspiring to have an opportunity to coach and mentor them, teaching them not only about the Tumi brand, but sharing some of my experiences and thought processes, and just watching their engagement. And Sudhir is exactly right. Like a lot of them came up to me after the episode, privately to say thank you, to shake my hand, and I really thought that was very special. So to me, it was really that interaction and engagement with the candidates that was incredibly interesting to me, and something I really treasure.
Thank you for that. Leading from that, Chhatra, I wanted to ask you, there are many different brands and industries featured in the Apprentice One Championship Edition. And one of the unique aspects of the show is it can truly spotlight a brand in an episode. So I wanted to ask, in your opinion, how could other companies increase their brand awareness through a reality show like the Apprentice One Championship Edition?
Well, I think, the days of advertising, look at me, please buy my product, those days are long, long gone. With the advent of social media, the interconnectivity of technology, real-time data, and millennials' choices for content, they're inundated every day on the newsfeed on Facebook or Instagram. Their attention spans are incredibly short. Their first window of media consumption is the mobile device. So the most important thing is brands have to be innovative in how they reach consumers, how they speak to new consumers, and also how they speak to their current consumers. Before the internet, before social media, because of the lack of competition of content, you only needed to reach a consumer 2 to 3 times before he or she would actually make a purchasing decision and actually buy your product. 2 to 3 times. Today, in the world of social media, it takes up to 16 times of seeing your product, your brand in action in some form before they decide to buy. And it's because everyone has so much shorter attention span and getting inundated with content. So for me, it's the innovators of content that will thrive in any environment. And that's why, again, as I said, it's no accident when I look at all the CEOs and business leaders and brands that join the One Championship edition of The Apprentice, they're all innovators, leaders, thought makers. They are, dream chasers. You could just see the brands. I mean, these were not the stereotypical incumbent brands that sat there idly waiting for the industry to pass them by. Every single person, again, like Jeff Lawson from Twilio, created a multi-billion-dollar company really focused on, using technology to engage the consumer and customers and all that other stuff. Same thing as, Everise. It's an incredible story that Sudhir literally went from once upon a long time ago. He was, a bag-carrying door-to-door salesman. And for him to have built, a company with 12,000 employees on its way to $1 billion is just so inspiring. The same thing for Adam. He is truly a pioneer in that he takes a lot of risks, calculated risks, in pushing the brand to me forward and reaching new horizons, whether it's his initiatives in China or whether, I remember all the stories I heard when the pandemic hit. But even before the pandemic, Hong Kong was going through riots, and how, overnight sales dropped 90% for all retailers in Hong Kong. I mean, Adam had to live through that, and lead and navigate. And yet he did it phenomenally well. And China has seen some really strong growth. And then to think of esports and having the guts, right? And then so Anthony Tan, he just announced, from Anthony Tan from Grab, the largest SPAC deal ever, and valuing his company at $40 billion. It's no surprise he was part of the show, because again, it's a change makers, it's the visionaries who understand that you need different ways to introduce your brand, your product to consumers. And when you do with a reality show, especially with the world champions, one championship, all the physical tasks, having our candidates jump off a 150-foot bridge, having them submerge in a helicopter underwater, upside down, and having to escape that, all these crazy adventures, we knew that our product was going to speak very loudly to millennials. We also knew, again, like I said, it was a reality show for everybody, and the business community would take it very seriously because you had true visionaries who were on the show, teaching the world about business. And so it's this kind of innovation, and then partnering with innovative brands, brands who want to break out, brands who really understand that we live in a very different world today. Consumers will not remember you unless you do something very, very different. That's just the way the world is today. And so, I feel very blessed, and I'm full of gratitude and appreciation to the great leaders like Adam Hirschman and Sudhir Agarwal and Anthony Tan, and the list goes on and on, Eric Yuan from Zoom, and just all of these incredible business leaders who participated. We made history for sure. There's no question that we made history.
Yeah. On that topic of innovation in business, Sudhir, despite the pandemic, there are opportunities for businesses to grow, just as Chatri just talked about. And we've seen that with One Championship. We've seen that with Everrise. Television and new media are offering new ways for companies to achieve both product and brand recognition. And when it comes to the Apprentice One Championship edition, where are the potential growth opportunities, or what type of businesses could benefit from this?
So listen, I think firstly, one thing that the pandemic has changed is it's changed the way business was done, I think, permanently. I mean, let's take an example of retail. Everything's moved online, and it's going to stay like that. Obviously, people will go to shops, they will go on that, but it showed the power of technology and the power of being digital. One of the biggest reasons why we partnered with One Championship also is we attract, our employees are actually mostly millennials. And when they see this powerful connection of two great brands coming together, it's a huge attraction. I mean, in our industry, we have the highest Glassdoor ratings in the world.
Wow.
And we are 4.6 on a scale of 5. And in terms of the BPO companies or outsourcing companies in the world, we are probably not even in the top 20 from a size point of view. But the point is, we are a small company, we are agile, and thanks to my great team, we are growing really fast. 4 years back, Everrise did not exist. And so I think this whole world has changed. I think companies that have been able to evolve itself and look at new mediums of going out to their consumers have actually done extremely well. Leaving a few industries clearly, travel, hospitality, sports, entertainment, they have been hit. However, there are companies that have reinvented themselves. I don't know if I just read this the other day, that a small country like Singapore this year has contributed to 1/3 of the entire cruise revenue of the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
1/3.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that amazing? I mean, and who could ever think that, right? It's a dot on the map, but yet it has made such a huge impact. I think there'll be more events and more opportunities like these. For many companies, with others, some will come up with their own. We keep thinking about doing something. My only advice to people would be, whatever sounds absolutely crazy and absurd in the start, don't just throw it off. Sometimes investing in those can actually pay off. And listen, at the end of the day, it's not about a hard return out here. I have done this, one, because I'm really proud of what Chhatri has created, and I would always love to partner with him. But I think, secondly, it's a brand outreach. I mean, listen, just on the social media platform, the number of people that send us resumes for them to join because of just our association with One Championship has just been phenomenal. And this is not our first association. We keep working with One. Because we are in Philippines, we're in Malaysia. We sometimes sponsor fights where we can take our employees, and they love it. And by the way, if we just put out a prize that you can go see Angela Lee, it's amazing how just that one ticket can inspire 5,000 people to work extra hard because they want that opportunity. Or a VIP opportunity to meet her. I mean, so I think, listen, it's innovative, it's great, and I think companies who don't do it will be left behind.
Yeah. You mentioned travel there, Adam. That kind of leads me back to you. And this has been a really tough year, but obviously looking at new audiences and expanding into new businesses is something that is very important to you. Is that something you could talk a little bit about?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think Tumi is a company, almost 50 years old. It's always been really blessed, I think, with an entrepreneurial and innovative spirit that has endured throughout the entire existence of the company. And the people who work at the brand are absolutely terrific in stewarding that vision. So, if you look at the company when it first started 50 years ago, making non-wheeled leather bags to today, we have an assortment that, spans an incredibly diverse variety of categories. So, as the brand is always innovating and elevating itself. And I think the key term, kind of to riff off what Chhatri was saying is relevance. So relevance in the products that we create, relevance in the content we create, and how we approach customers. So those continue to evolve for us, and that's an everyday process. That's our absolute obsession as a company, and I think that's one of the reasons why we were able to to weather that storm. As Chhatri mentioned before, when a lot of different things get thrown our way, because of that innovative spirit of our company. We're able to come out, on the other side and take an offensive approach and go out there and say, this is our message. We're super proud of it. And the response has been really terrific. We just recently did a virtual store and I did a live stream. It was my first ever live stream. So you guys check it out and see if I embarrass myself. But, you did. Thank you, Erica. I really think that something like that is something, maybe one of those crazy ideas, Sudhir, like you were talking about. I mean, throwing an idea of doing a full virtual store, where you can talk to salespeople, you can see all the products in detailed 3D, set in a Madison Avenue environment in New York. I never would have thought that we would have done something like that. I would never have thought years ago that, and I think people might have looked at me a little strangely, said, Adam, esports? Have I lost my mind, right? But that's the kind of company that, I think Tumi is. We take those calculated risks, we move ourselves forward, we stay relevant to the globe. The world changes, and people do too. What's important to them changes. And, we're able to add value in a lot of area of people's lives. So, Erica, for us, it's really the essential essence of who we are as a brand, and what's really been our compass as we've navigated this is just to lean into innovation, to not be afraid of it, to even further go for it. So I think that's that's what we've been all about, and working with folks like One who embrace those same values. There's huge synergy there, and the customer feels it. They can feel it from both companies when they combine, and they feel it from each individually. And I think that's really, really very special, and why that relevance is so important to us.
Adam, I must say one thing out here. I still remember in my first job in 99 after my MBA, with my first paycheck I got, I actually inspired to go buy your Tumi laptop bag, because that used to be the thing to carry,
Yes.
And it was amazing. And, we all, and as recently I probably have every single Alpha Series bag that you guys have launched, because you guys keep, innovating yourself. And I think it's just, and I'm dying to use them again, obviously, but.
Yes.
And you'll have to get one of the new esports bags.
Absolutely.
Yes, for sure. Well, thanks for that, Sudhir.
Great. Well, Chatri, just as a final question, everyone knows the world is constantly evolving and business has to evolve with it. So what do you think are the most important things businesses need to understand about today's current climate and processes that they should implement moving forward in 2021?
I think probably for me, the biggest thing is that content is king. That every single company must either create phenomenal content or somehow weave itself into phenomenal content. Because that is the language of everyday life. That is a language of business for millennials. They consume content voraciously. And, again, the mobile device is their very first window for media consumption. Very different from older generations where there's a set linear time clock. You'd go at 9 p.m. to go watch a TV show, or 8 p.m. for the news, or whatever it is. Millennials are spoiled on this mobile device that 24/7 they can reach out to. And so if you don't know how to play in the content space aggressively, you'll be wiped out. Traditional marketing does not work. Traditional way of business does not work. I really genuinely believe that all brands should think of themselves as either content creators or content marriers, if you will. You have to be part of content that's relevant. You have to be part of content that goes on the news feed every day on Facebook or Instagram. You have to be part of the content if you want to reach consumers and the millennial, obviously the most precious consumers, the millennial and the Gen Z consumers. It all comes down to content. And that's why at One Championship, we have focused tremendously on owning the mobile device. What are the two forms of content that resonate most on all of Facebook as a proxy, okay, on the mobile device? It's martial arts content and gaming, i.e. esports. And so, we've become a one-stop shop for millennials and Gen Zs for live sports content on their mobile device. And, what I would encourage is other brands should take the approach that Sudhir and Adam have taken in terms of being innovative, being courageous, risk-taking, understanding that actually a very wise person said this to me once before. If you do what everyone else does, you will get what everyone else gets. So in order to achieve the extraordinary, you have to do something different. And that's just the reality of the world we live in today. And in the hyper-aggressive world of content creation that's happening. Remember, before, content creation used to be reserved only to production companies. But today, individual YouTubers have more views and more engagement than brands do. Individual Instagrammers or TikTokers. So the content that's coming out is just proliferating, exponentially. Individuals, companies, clubs, teams, leagues, everyone is pumping out content. And now obviously Hollywood's doing the same, but everyone is pumping out content every day. And, don't get lost in the noise for your brand. To be extraordinary, you have to do something very different. That's my biggest advice.
Thank you for that. And I would love to keep talking all day, but I think we're out of time in creating this piece of content. So I'd like to thank you to Adam, Sudhir, and Chatri for taking the time today. And thank you to all of you out there who are listening to today's One Ignite. We hope you'll join us for our next topic. And thank you very much, everyone, for participating today.
Thank you so much, Erica.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sudhir. Thank you, Adam. We appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye now.